Riven had never seen a creature cry over a plant before. The human woman sat cross-legged on the floor of the botanical laboratory, holding a withered stem in her palm. Small drops of water fell from her eyes and landed on the dead leaves. She made soft sounds that Riven's translator identified as grief. Over a plant, Riven stood in the doorway, uncertain whether to announce the presence or retreat. The young Solari scholar had arrived at Research Station Harmony only 3 hours ago, assigned to document this strange new species called humans. Already, the assignment seemed more bizarre than expected. "I'm sorry," the human said, noticing Riven at last. She wiped her face and attempted a smile. "This was from my grandmother's garden. I brought seeds all the way from Earth, but I couldn't save it." "You are mourning?" Riven asked carefully. "I suppose I am." The woman stood and extended her hand in the human greeting gesture. "Anna Reeves, botanist. You must be the new observer." Riven accepted the handshake, noting how soft and warm the human skin felt. Fragile almost. The Solari had evolved on a world of crystalline plains and gentle seasons. Their bodies were tall and slender, built for grace rather than struggle. But even by Solari standards, humans seemed delicate. "I am Riven. I will be studying your species for the cultural exchange program." "Studying us?" Anna laughed, and the sound was surprisingly pleasant. "Well, I hope we don't bore you to death. Would you like to see the garden?" Over the following weeks, Riven observed everything. The humans numbered only 43 on the station, a small contingent among hundreds of Solari researchers and diplomats. They worked in various roles: engineers, scientists, medical staff, and a security team that seemed to do very little except exercise. And they were so emotional. They laughed at jokes that were not particularly clever. They embraced each other in greeting and farewell. They sang while they worked, argued passionately over trivial matters, and formed attachments with alarming speed. One human engineer wept openly when he received a video message from his children on Earth. "They waste so much energy on sentiment," Grand Arbiter Solon observed one evening. The leader of the Solari delegation had summoned Riven to discuss the research progress. "Do not mistake kindness for significance, young scholar. Humans are useful enough as laborers and technical staff, but they will never amount to anything in galactic terms." "Why do you believe that, Grand Arbiter?" Solon's expression carried 3,000 years of peaceful certainty. "Because strength requires control. Discipline. The humans cannot even control their own tear ducts. They come from an unremarkable world in an unremarkable system. They have nothing to offer but cheap sentiment." Riven wanted to agree. Everything observed supported the Arbiter's conclusion. And yet, small things did not quite fit. That Anna's hands had calluses that seemed wrong for a botanist. Old calluses, thick and hardened. When Riven asked about them, she smiled and changed the subject. The human security team trained for 4 hours every day. 4 hours of combat drills, weapons practice, and physical conditioning. When Riven asked their commander, a middle-aged man named Captain David Holt, why they trained so hard when the station was perfectly safe, he simply shrugged. "Habit," he said. His eyes were kind, crinkled at the corners from smiling. "We like to stay sharp, but there is no threat here. The galactic accords protect this station." Something flickered across the captain's face. Something old and knowing. Then it vanished behind another warm smile. "You're absolutely right. Just habit." One afternoon, Riven witnessed a small human child fall and injure her knee. The wound was minor, barely worth noting. But 3 human adults rushed to her side immediately. They cleaned the cut with exaggerated care. They held her while she cried. They whispered comfort until her tears stopped. So much attention. So much energy. For such a small injury. "We're a bit protective of our young," Anna explained later when Riven mentioned the incident. "It's just how we are. All species protect their young." "Yes." Anna's voice carried a strange weight. "But humans, we take it personally." That night, Riven began the first official research log. The words came easily. "The humans are kind but soft. They display excessive emotional responses to minor stimuli and form attachments with irrational intensity. Their homeworld, designated Earth, appears to be a mid-range planet with no exceptional characteristics. I do not understand how such a sentimental species survived long enough to develop space travel. Perhaps their world was exceptionally gentle. Perhaps they never faced true hardship. Whatever the reason, They seem utterly unsuited for the dangers of the galaxy. Grand Arbiter Solon believes they will fade into irrelevance within a few generations. Based on current observations, I am inclined to agree. They are simply too soft. Riven saved the log and prepared for sleep. In the security office 3 levels below, Captain Holt reviewed the daily sensor reports. His kind eyes were not smiling now. The unknown contacts at the edge of the system had moved closer. They would arrive within the week. He had not told the Solari yet. There was no point in causing panic before he was certain, but he was already certain. He opened a private channel to his team. Inventory night. Full inspection. Quiet. 42 humans received the message. None of them asked questions. They simply began to prepare. In her quarters, Anna Reeves set aside her botanical journals and opened a locked case she had not touched in 3 years. Inside, carefully maintained, lay equipment that had nothing to do with plants. She hoped she would not need it. She knew she probably would. 3 months changed nothing and everything. Riven had learned to predict when the humans would laugh, which topics made them quiet, and how to read the subtle shifts in their strange, mobile faces. The Solari scholar had grown comfortable among them. Perhaps too comfortable. Anna had become something close to a friend. They met most afternoons in the botanical lab, where she taught Riven about Earth. The lessons were fascinating and horrifying in equal measure. "This is called a lion," Anna said, showing an image of a massive predator. "They hunt in groups and can run faster than most ground vehicles. And humans lived alongside these creatures. We still do. Some of us think they're beautiful." Riven stared at the image. The lion's teeth were the length of Solari fingers. "Your world sounds difficult." "It can be." Anna's expression grew distant. "We've had ice ages that covered half the planet. Plagues that killed millions. Earthquakes, floods, volcanoes. Sometimes I think Earth has been trying to kill us since the beginning. Yet you survived. We're stubborn." She smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "Very stubborn." Riven began noticing contradictions more frequently now. The humans spoke of peace and kindness. They genuinely seemed to mean it. But their history was soaked in blood. Wars that consumed entire continents. Weapons that could destroy cities in a single flash. They had done terrible things to each other and to their world. "Why do you share these stories?" Riven asked once. "They do not portray your species favorably." Anna considered the question carefully. "Because pretending we're only one thing would be a lie. We're capable of great love and great violence. We try to choose love, but we never forget what else lives inside us." One evening, a Solari scientist dismissed human literature as primitive violence fantasies. A human engineer happened to overhear. "Those aren't fantasies," he said quietly. "Those are warnings." No one asked him to explain. The sensor contacts drew closer. Riven noticed the humans changing in small ways. They still laughed and embraced and wept over trivial matters. But beneath the warmth, something was tightening. Captain Holt spent longer hours in the security office. The human engineers found reasons to inspect every corridor and access point on the station. Anna's locked case had moved from storage to beneath her bed. When the identification finally came, Riven was in the command center observing a routine shift change. Ravek's signatures confirmed, the sensor officer announced. 12 vessels. They'll reach the station in 6 hours. The word spread like a disease through the Solari delegation. Ravek. Slavers. Conquerors. For 3 centuries, they had taken what they wanted from the weaker species of the galaxy. No one had ever defeated them in battle. The accepted wisdom was simple. Surrender quickly, lose less. Grand Arbiter Solon called an emergency meeting. "We must prepare to negotiate," the Arbiter declared. "The Ravek will take tribute. They always do. If we cooperate, most of us will survive." "And the humans?" Someone asked. That Solon's pause lasted a fraction too long. "The humans are a complication. The Ravek have no prior relationship with their species. They may be curious about new stock." "New stock?" The words hung in the air. Riven looked for the humans in the chamber, but found none. They had not been invited to this meeting. Instead, Riven found them in the cargo bay. They worked in complete silence. No laughter, no embraces, no tears. They moved with mechanical precision, checking weapons, testing armor, establishing defensive positions. Captain Holt stood at the center, issuing orders in a low voice that carried absolute authority. These were not the same creatures Riven had studied for 3 months. You should go to the shelters, Anna said, appearing at Riven's side. Her voice was gentle as always. Her eyes were not. What are you doing? Preparing. To fight? Against 12 Ravek warships. Riven felt the absurdity of it. The Grand Arbiter is negotiating surrender. It is the logical choice. We don't surrender our people. Anna's tone remained calm, but something ancient stirred behind her words. We don't surrender anyone's people. They'll kill you. All of you. Anna's hand found Riven's shoulder. The touch was warm and soft, exactly as it had always been. Maybe. But there are children on this station. Human children. Solari children. The Ravek would take them. Use them. Break them. Her gentle voice dropped to a whisper. We don't allow that. You can't protect everyone. We can try. She squeezed Riven's shoulder once, then turned back toward her people. We always try. Captain Holt noticed Riven and approached. His kind eyes held none of their usual warmth now. They held something older. Something that remembered ice ages and lions and wars that burned across continents. You asked once why we trained so hard, he said. Now you know. But you seemed so gentle. We are gentle. He checked his weapon with practiced ease. When the world lets us be. The Ravek broadcast arrived an hour later. Their demands were simple. Surrender all humans for processing. Surrender half the Solari population as slaves. Refuse, and everyone dies. Grand Arbiter Solon activated the station-wide address system. We will negotiate. Captain Holt's voice cut across the channel. Station Harmony. This is Human Security Commander Holt. All non-combatants proceed to inner shelters immediately. Human personnel, battle stations. You have no authority here. Solon raged. Holt turned to face the Arbiter. His kind eyes had become something terrible. They just asked for our children. They just asked for everyone's children. His voice was quiet. Absolute. Final. We have all the authority we need. Grand Arbiter Solon's composure shattered like thin crystal. This is mutiny. The words echoed through the command center as humans moved past without acknowledgement. I am the ranking authority on this station. I speak for the Solari Confederacy. Captain Holt did not stop walking. Then speak. Just not for us. You will doom us all. The Ravek cannot be defeated in combat. This is established fact. 3 centuries of galactic history prove. 3 centuries of nobody trying. Holt finally turned to face the Arbiter. We're trying. The transformation had completed now, and Riven could barely recognize the species that had laughed and cried and grieved over dead plants. The humans moved through the station like water through cracks, flowing to positions that seemed random but clearly were not. They had planned for this. From the first day, they had planned for this. Weapons appeared from hidden caches in walls, floors, and equipment lockers. Armor materialized from personal quarters. Communications equipment linked every human on the station in a silent network of hand signals and brief glances. 43 soft, emotional creatures became something else entirely. Riven followed Anna through the corridors, trying to understand. The botanist wore combat armor now, and it fit her like a second skin. Her movements had changed. The gentle, unhurried grace was gone, replaced by something economical and precise. How long? Riven managed. How long what? How long have you known how to do this? Anna checked her weapon without breaking stride. I learned to shoot when I was 12. Basic survival training at 14. Full combat certification before I left Earth. She glanced at Riven with something like apology. Most humans learn. We hope we never need it. But we learn. You hid this. All of you. We didn't hide anything. She stopped at an intersection and pressed Riven against the wall while she checked sight lines. We just didn't show it. There's a difference. The Ravek broadcast crackled again through the station speakers. Warlord Gulran's voice dripped with ancient confidence. Your silence is foolish. We have taken 700 worlds. We have broken species that conquered stars before your ancestors crawled from their oceans. Surrender now, and some of you will live. Resist, and we will make examples of your children while you watch. Something shifted in the air around Riven. Every human within earshot had gone absolutely still. Their faces had emptied of expression. Their eyes had become flat and terrible. Captain Holt's voice came across the human communication network, audible through Anna's earpiece. They just threatened the children. 43 responses came back. The same 2 words, repeated like a prayer or a promise. Copy that. Riven had never heard such cold certainty in any voice, from any species. Grand Arbiter Solon made one final attempt. The Arbiter appeared in the main corridor, blocking the path to the primary airlock where the Ravek would soon breach. Listen to reason. I can negotiate terms. I can save most of us. You are throwing away lives for pride. Captain Holt stopped. His security team stopped with him. 26 humans in combat armor, armed with weapons that seemed crude compared to Solari technology, but were clearly well-maintained and frequently used. You want to negotiate, Holt said. Yes, it is the only logical. You want to give them people. Our people. Everyone's people. Children. Sacrifices must sometimes. No. The word fell like a hammer. No sacrifices. Not one. Not ever. Solon's voice rose with desperation. You cannot save everyone. It is mathematically impossible. Some must be lost so others can survive. Anna stepped forward. Her gentle voice had not changed, but the words it carried had. That's the difference between us. You calculate acceptable losses. We don't accept any losses. We fight for all of them or we die trying. That's insane. Probably. Captain Holt almost smiled. But it's who we are. He turned to his team. Positions. They'll breach in 4 minutes. The humans moved to predetermined locations with silent efficiency. Riven found shelter behind a reinforced barrier, unable to leave, unable to look away. Anna crouched nearby, her weapon trained on the airlock door. What? Riven whispered. Why die for people who were ready to sell you? Anna's eyes softened for just a moment. The botanist was still in there, somewhere behind the soldier. Because they're scared. Because they don't know another way. And because someone has to show them that there is one. She turned back to the airlock. Besides, we're not planning to die. You're outnumbered thousands to 1. We've been outnumbered before. Something ancient moved in Anna's smile. The thing about humans is, we don't do math when our families are threatened. We just fight until it's over. But these aren't your families. These are strangers. Aliens. Anna looked at Riven with genuine surprise. You've eaten with us. Laughed with us. Learned our names. Seen us cry. Her voice dropped to something fierce and tender. You are family now. All of you. That's how it works. The airlock began to cycle. Pressure equalized with a hiss of foreign atmosphere. Captain Holt's voice carried across the human network one final time. Remember who they threatened. Remember what they want to do. Remember what we are. 26 humans answered in unison, their voices blending into something primal. A sound that had echoed across battlefields for 10,000 years. A sound that predators had learned to fear since before humans had names. The airlock door opened. The Ravek poured through, expecting terrified prey. They found something else entirely. The first Ravek soldier died before it understood what was happening. Riven watched from behind the barrier as the massive creature stepped through the airlock with the casual confidence of a predator entering a cage of prey. The Ravek stood nearly 3 meters tall, armored in biological plates that had deflected weapons from 100 conquered worlds. Anna shot it twice in the gap between helmet and chest plate. It dropped without a sound. The second and third Ravek died in the same breath. Captain Holt and 2 of his team fired in perfect synchronization, their shots finding weak points that should have been invisible. The fourth Ravek managed to raise its weapon before a human emerged from a side corridor and drove a blade through its eye socket. Then the chaos truly began. The Ravek poured through the breach in waves, and the humans met them with something Riven had never witnessed. Not battle, not combat. Something older and more terrible. They fought with their bodies, their weapons, their teeth, their rage. They fought as though each enemy soldier had personally threatened their children, because in their minds, that was exactly true. Riven had studied thousands of hours of interspecies conflict records. The patterns were always similar. Defensive formations, tactical retreats, calculated exchanges, war as mathematics. This was not mathematics that a human woman, bleeding from a wound across her face, tackled a Ravek twice her size and kept firing her weapon into its chest until both of them stopped moving. A human man with a shattered arm continued fighting with his remaining hand, his screams of pain indistinguishable from screams of fury. They pushed forward, always forward, into the enemy, through the enemy, over the bodies of the enemy. The Ravek had conquered 700 worlds. They had perfected the art of breaking resistance through overwhelming force and calculated cruelty. They had never encountered a species that attacked them back. What are these things? A Ravek officer's voice crackled across and intercepted communication. Riven could hear the confusion, the first traces of fear. They should be fleeing. They are not fleeing. Another Ravek responded. They are advancing. That's impossible. Our forces outnumber them. The communication dissolved into static and screaming. Anna appeared at Riven's side, reloading her weapon. Blood spattered her armor, none of it hers. Her hands were steady. Her eyes were clear. But her gentle face carried an expression Riven would never forget: grief. Even now, in the middle of the slaughter, she grieved for the lives she was taking. Stay down, she said. We're pushing them back to the airlock. You're winning. We're surviving. She checked her ammunition. That's how we win. We survive until they don't. A group of Ravek soldiers broke through a side corridor, attempting to flank the human position. They found the Solari shelters instead. Through the security feeds, Riven watched as 3 Ravek approached the sealed doors. Inside those doors were 400 civilians. Dozens of children. The Ravek began cutting through. Anna saw the feed at the same moment. Her expression changed. The grief vanished. Something else took its place. Something Riven recognized from ancient records, from stories whispered about death worlds and the creatures that survived them. Contact at Shelter 7, she said into her communication unit. Children. The response was immediate. 5 humans broke from their positions and ran toward the shelter. They did not check their ammunition. They did not coordinate tactics. They simply ran directly toward superior enemy numbers, with nothing but their weapons and their fury. The Ravek never reached the children. The cost was 2 human lives. Captain Holt received the report without expression. 2 names. 2 people who had laughed and cried and hugged their friends just hours ago. 2 people who would never do any of those things again. Mark them, he said. Honor them later. Keep fighting. And they did. The battle lasted 2 hours. It should have been over in minutes. 43 humans against thousands of Ravek warriors should have been a footnote in history, a brief example of foolish resistance. Instead, it became something else. The Ravek fell back. Then they retreated. Then they fled to their ships. Warlord Gulran's voice came across the station speakers one final time, stripped of all confidence. What are you? Captain Holt answered. His voice was ragged with exhaustion and grief, and something that sounded almost like disappointment. We're humans. We tried to be gentle. We wanted to be gentle. You should have let us. You cannot pursue us. You have no ships. We have your access codes. Holt's terrible smile was audible even through the speakers. Your second assault team was very cooperative before they died. We're coming for your slave holds, Warlord. We're freeing everyone. You'll never survive the assault on our fleet. Maybe not, but you threatened children. Holt's voice dropped to something quiet and final. We don't let that go. Ever. The communication ended. Riven emerged from behind the barrier on shaking legs. The corridors were painted with evidence of violence. Human medics were already moving among the wounded, treating Solari and human alike with the same desperate care. Anna sat against a wall, her weapon beside her. Tears streamed down her face even as she smiled at a Solari child who approached her tentatively. Are you hurt? The child asked. Not badly. Anna opened her arms, and the child, a stranger, an alien, ran into them. Are you okay? I was scared. I know. It's over now. Anna held the child close. We won't let anything hurt you. Riven watched the botanist comfort the child while blood dried on her armor. The same hands that had wept over dead plants. The same gentle voice that had explained lions and ice ages. The same woman who had killed without hesitation to protect strangers. Everything Riven believed about humanity shattered in that moment. Something new began to form in its place. The assault on the Ravek fleet began with 31 humans. 12 had died defending the station. Their names were spoken aloud before the boarding craft launched. A human tradition, Riven learned. Honoring the fallen before joining them. Anna was among the assault team. Riven had asked her not to go. She had refused with the same gentle voice she used for everything. There are children in those slave holds. Thousands of them. Some have been there for years. You've already done enough. There's no such thing as enough. Anna touched Riven's face with surprising tenderness. Not while cages still hold innocent people. Riven watched the boarding craft disappear toward the Ravek fleet. The damaged warships hung in space, their engines crippled by the station's emergency defense systems. They could not flee. They could only wait. Grand Arbiter Solon stood beside Riven at the viewport. The Arbiter's composure had returned, but something fundamental had changed behind those ancient eyes. "They're going to die," Solon said. 31 of them against a fleet. "Perhaps. You don't seem disturbed by this." Riven considered the question. "I thought I understood humans. I was wrong. I don't know what they're capable of anymore." "Neither do you. Neither do the Ravek." The battle feeds were patchy, corrupted by jamming and damage. Fragments reached the station. Brief windows into chaos. Humans breaching a cargo hold. Humans fighting through corridors half their height. Humans dying and humans killing and humans screaming in languages that meant nothing and everything. And then the other feeds began. Slave pens opening. Chains falling. Creatures of a dozen species stumbling into the light, unable to believe what they were seeing. Small figures in human combat armor crouching to meet the eyes of children who had forgotten what hope looked like. "You're safe now," a human voice said, repeated across 100 feeds. "You're free. We've got you." The assault lasted 9 hours. When it ended, 43,000 slaves walked free. 11 more humans did not walk at all. Anna returned on the last transport. Her armor was scorched and cracked. Her left arm hung in a makeshift sling. But she was alive. Riven met her at the docking bay. "You're hurt." "I've had worse." Anna smiled, and somehow, impossibly, the botanist was still in there. The gentle woman who cried over plants. She had not been destroyed. She had not been replaced. She had simply expanded. One of the children asked my name. She said she wanted to remember who saved her. "What did you tell her?" "I told her my name isn't important, but she should remember that Earth sent us. That humans came for her when no one else would." Riven helped Anna to the medical bay, walking slowly through corridors still marked by violence. The station was a ruin. The cost had been staggering, but the children were free. All of them. Captain Holt appeared near the medical bay, looking older than he had 3 days ago. Older than he probably was. His kind eyes had returned, but they carried new weight. "Casualty report," he said to Anna. 19 dead. 8 critical. Everyone else walking wounded. She paused. Warlord Gul'ran. Dead. He tried to execute the slaves rather than let us free them. Holt's voice was flat. He failed. The fleet. Crippled. We transmitted their location to every species they ever raided. The survivors are already on their way. Holt almost smiled. Justice, finally. Riven followed them through the medical bay, watching humans treat the wounded. They worked on everyone, regardless of species. Solari scientists who had dismissed them as primitive. Ravek prisoners who had tried to kill them hours before. Children who could not speak or understand a single human word. The same hands that dealt death now dealt healing. The same voices that had roared in battle now whispered comfort. "How do you do this?" Riven asked finally. "How do you switch so easily between the two?" Anna looked up from the Solari child she was bandaging. "We don't switch. We're always both things at once." She finished the bandage and patted the child's arm. "You're all fixed. Go find your parents." The child ran off, and Anna turned to face Riven fully. "Humans love too much. That's what makes us dangerous. When we love something, we'll die for it. We'll kill for it. We'll do terrible things that haunt us for the rest of our lives." Her eyes glistened. "And then we'll cry about it. Because we never wanted to be this. We just are. The galaxy will fear you now." "I know." Genuine sorrow crossed her face. "We didn't want that either. We wanted to be the friendly ones. The kind ones. The species everyone trusted." She laughed softly. "So much for that. Perhaps you can be both." Anna considered this. Maybe. If people understand why we fight. Not for territory. Not for resources. Not for power. She gestured at the wounded being treated around them. For them. Always for them. Riven looked at the humans working tirelessly among the victims. At Captain Holt carrying a sleeping child to her parents. At Anna wiping tears from her own eyes while she prepared more bandages, soft and hard. Gentle and violent. Kind and terrible. Not contradictions at all. Riven realized the same thing. The same love. The same fierce, burning need to protect what mattered. "I think I finally understand," Riven said. Anna smiled. "Good. Now help me with these bandages. We have a lot of people to take care of." Riven picked up the medical supplies and went to work. There was a lot of caring left to do. 6 weeks after the battle, Riven stood before the Solari High Council. The chamber held 3,000 of the most powerful beings in the Confederacy. Representatives from dozens of allied species filled the observer galleries. Every eye, natural and artificial, focused on the young scholar who had witnessed something unprecedented. "Tell us," the senior counselor demanded. "Tell us what humans truly are." Riven had prepared testimony, charts, recordings, biological analyses, evidence gathered over months of careful observation. None of it seemed sufficient now. "I was sent to document a primitive species," Riven began. "I found something else." The story unfolded. The gentle botanist who cried over dead plants. The security team that trained endlessly for threats that might never come. The laughter, the embraces, the tears shed for small joys and smaller sorrows. And then the violence. "They fought without calculation," Riven said. "Every tactical principle we know suggests they should have surrendered. They were outnumbered, outgunned, outmatched in every measurable way. Yet they won," the senior counselor observed. "They won because they refused to lose. They won because something in their blood remembers a world that tried to kill them every day for 1,000,000 years." Riven paused. "They won because they loved too much to stop." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The concept seemed absurd. Love as a weapon. Affection as fury. "You speak in contradictions," a council member challenged. "A species cannot be both gentle and violent. It is one or the other." "With respect, counselor, you are wrong." Riven projected the final image. Anna Reeves, blood-splattered and exhausted, holding a Solari child in her arms. Tears on her face. A weapon still within reach. This is the same person. The same heart. The gentle one who grieved for a plant and the warrior who killed without hesitation. She did not become something different. She simply showed what was always there. What was always there? Protection. Riven let the word hang in the air. Humans are protectors. It is their defining characteristic. When nothing threatens their loved ones, they are the kindest species I have ever encountered. When something does threaten them, the scholar's voice dropped. There is nothing they will not do, nothing they will not sacrifice, nothing they will not become. The chamber fell silent. Riven continued. They freed 43,000 slaves. They asked for nothing in return. They are still treating the wounded, still counseling the traumatized, still rebuilding our station. The same hands that killed Ravek soldiers now serve food to orphans. And what do they want from us? The senior counselor's voice carried old suspicion. What is their price? I asked Captain Holt that question. Riven smiled at the memory. He seemed confused. He said they didn't want anything. They just saw people in cages and couldn't look away. No species acts without self-interest. Humans do. They genuinely, truly do. Riven's voice filled with something like wonder. They want friends. They want family. They want people to laugh with and cry with and share their strange, passionate lives with. They don't want to conquer the galaxy. They just want to belong in it. And if we reject them, they will be sad. They will grieve. And then they will find others who won't reject them. Riven met the senior counselor's eyes directly. But consider what they have already done for strangers. For aliens who dismissed them as primitive. For beings who were ready to sell them to slavers. A pause. Now imagine what they would do for friends. The testimony ended. The council deliberated. But Riven already knew the outcome. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. 2 days later, Riven returned to Station Harmony. The repairs were nearly complete. Human engineers worked alongside Solari technicians, laughing at shared jokes, arguing about nothing important. As if the battle had never happened. As if death had not walked these corridors. Anna waited in the botanical lab. New plants grew in fresh soil. Life beginning again. I heard your testimony, she said. You were very kind. I was accurate. Were you? Anna smiled. You made us sound almost noble. You are noble. We're messy. She touched a leaf with careful fingers. We're contradictory and emotional, and we make terrible decisions sometimes. We hold grudges and fight over nothing and love too hard and grieve too long. Her eyes met Riven's. We're not heroes, Riven. We're just people who can't stand to see anyone suffer. That sounds like heroism to me. Anna laughed. The same warm, genuine laugh from months ago. Before the blood. Before the fire. Unchanged. Stay with us, she said suddenly. The research program is expanding. We're going to need cultural advisors who actually understand us. I thought I didn't understand you. You're learning. Anna grinned. Besides, you're family now. You've seen us at our worst. You've seen us at our best. You've seen us cry over dead plants and kill without mercy. She shrugged. After all that, you might as well stay for dinner. Riven looked around the botanical lab, at the new life growing from ashes, at the gentle woman who had become something terrible and remained something kind. I believe I will. Outside the viewport, human ships escorted the freed slaves toward their homeworlds. Stars burned cold and ancient in the void. And somewhere, Riven knew, other species were already whispering about what had happened here. The humans had arrived. They had come in peace. They had offered kindness. And when kindness was rejected, when their loved ones were threatened, they had shown the galaxy something else, something gentle, something terrible, something that would never, ever stop fighting for the ones it loved. Riven began a new research log. The words came slowly this time. I no longer believe humans are soft. I no longer believe they are savage. They are both. They are neither. They are exactly what they choose to be, when they need to be, for the people who matter to them. And if you are fortunate enough to become one of those people, a pause, a smile, they will move stars for you.